Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite snacks that I enjoy. What do you do in the afternoon when you want something crunchy instead of reaching out for those bag of potato chips? I'm going to show you how to make kale chips, which are absolutely delicious. They are salty, sweet, crunchy, and the kale is actually naturally a little bit bitter, but with this recipe they taste absolutely delicious and it's so easy to make, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make it. We need very few ingredients, so I have my mise en place right here, and I've got lemon juice, pink Himalayan salt, maple syrup as my sweetener, and nutritional yeast. And for those of you who've never used nutritional yeast, it's a really good one to add to your diet, especially for vegetarians who tend to be deficient in vitamin B12. So this is a great source of B12. Plus, for this recipe, it gives it a really nice cheese kind of flavor. It's got a nice cheese flavor. So I'm gonna get started. I take a bunch of kale leaves, and for my family and friends in India, if you don't have kale, you can use leafy spinach. And for those of you in Singapore, when it's hard to get kale, you can also use local kailan, which is local kale, and just use kailan instead. And here right now in summer, we're getting beautiful kale, which I just picked up at the farmer's market yesterday. Kale is the king of the leafy green vegetables, really nutritionally very dense and really healthy to add to the diet. Loaded with vitamin K, calcium, protein, fiber. It's really, and calcium. I don't know if I said calcium, but it's really a good one to add to your diet. And what you want to do, and I already did this, is you want to pre-wash it and dry it really well. And I take away the stems, so I'm going to show you what to do. So you take a leaf like this, and then you hold the end, and then you just kind of pull with the leaf like this. And then whatever little stem comes with that, that's fine. And you just tear into bite-sized pieces like this. And then the stem you can keep for juicing. Or I like to actually give it to my raw dog. It's really good for his teeth and gums. Okay, once you have your kale all ready in a bowl, this is a nice small bunch. I'm going to drizzle a generous amount of olive oil. Olive oil is good in omega-3s. Then I'm going to add the salt, and no worries, we will put the recipe below the video so you will have that later. Lemon juice. The sweetener, as I mentioned, is maple syrup. And make sure you get the real maple syrup, not the log cabin, which is corn syrup. We don't want corn syrup, we want the real maple syrup, okay? And then I'm gonna add my nutritional yeast, okay? Sprinkle generously. And then what you're gonna do is really just massage this into the leaves so it gets nicely coated with this dressing. And you can make this in the dehydrator, and no worries if you don't have a dehydrator, you can also use the oven. You can put it in the oven preheat your oven to 350 degrees and just put it on a baking sheet, non-stick tray, and let it bake for about 10 to 15 minutes. Watch it, make sure that it doesn't burn. I'm actually going to make it fully raw, so I'm going to make it in a dehydrator at 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I'm going to take a dehydrated tray right here. Dehydrated trays typically come with a mesh and a non-stick sheet, a teflex sheet. And what you want to do, and you can do this on a baking sheet too, for the oven, is you just put your kale leaves just loosely. You don't want to overlap them too much because we want to get it nice and crisp on the tray. And if you like your kale, you can even add a little bit of spice if you like it a little spicy. Or if you want it a little sweeter, sour, just add a little more lemon or add a little bit more maple syrup if you like it sweet. Okay, I think that's about good for one tray. And I always like to sprinkle a little more of the nutritional yeast on top. So now that I have all the kale chips nicely spread out on the dehydrator, give them enough room, don't overcrowd it, you can always use another tray. I'm going to stick it into the dehydrator right over here and slide it right here. And it will take about, I would say, overnight in Chicago. So this was, these kale chips I put in actually last night, and they're nice and crispy, as you can see. So all I do is I just take it out of the sheets, so they come right off. And there you go. And the rest of it, you know, if you're not going to eat all of it, put it in a glass jar, and it'll stay for a month in the glass jar. Although at home, I mean, it's pretty much eaten almost the same day, so because they're really delicious. So, but if you want to store them, keep them in an airtight glass jar. And in Singapore, because I lived there for so many years, I noticed I was dehydrating it forever because it is very hot and humid in Singapore. And if you're living in a hot and humid climate, you will need to dehydrate longer. I know in Singapore it was 3 times more, so sometimes it would take me almost 2 days to get it really nice and crispy. So here in Chicago, where the weather is nice right now, nice and dry, it just takes overnight 8 hours. So this is all ready. I'm going to take a bite. Absolutely delicious. Thank you for joining me. See you next week.